So students, today we're just going to revise the two chapters that we have discussed earlier. One is Lost Spring and the other is Last Lesson. So we were supposed to continue with the poem here, but because we have a test today also, so that is why it is better that we revise these chapters. The chapter that I'm going to start discussion first is Lost Spring. Now, Lost Spring. Spring here in this chapter, it is a metaphor for childhood, right? And the innocence and the joys and the happiness of childhood. But the incidents that we're going to read about the lives of these two young boys that we read about, we learn that how they have lost that childhood. And how have they lost it? Circumstances have made them lose their childhood. Tradition has made them lose that childhood. Karma, destiny, whatever you may call it, right? And here the first instance that we do read about, it's the life of a young boy, Sahib-e-Alam. Sahib-e-Alam belongs to a family of rag pickers. They were not always rag pickers. They lived in Bangladesh, his family. And because of the floods, because of the bad weather, they lost the crop, they lost everything. And so they came towards India. And finally they came and they were squatters, they occupied that land over there, which is Simapuri, and it is on the outskirts of Delhi. And Simapuri is an unplanned, you can say, inhabitation of these rag pickers. They live in very unhygienic conditions without proper homes, and they have these roofs which are made of tin and tarpaulin and mud walls, and it is there, in very, you can say, basic conditions these people live over there. Sahib-e-Alam does not know what he is going to do when he grows up. So what he sees around him, what he sees the elders doing, he and the young boys, they also carry with that only, right? So what does the narrator notice? That Sahib-e-Alam and a group of other boys, every day they would go through this mound of garbage, just like a flock of birds, right? And by afternoon, they would disappear. And one day she asked the young boy that, why are you doing this? Why did you go to school? And he says that there's no school nearby. And she makes a very false promise that if I make a school for you, will you go there? And surprisingly, after 2-3 days, when she sees Sahib-e-Alam, he comes to her and asks, is the school ready? And the school is not ready because she had never meant to keep that promise, and you can't make schools so hurriedly and in such a short time, right? So Sahib-e-Alam is one of those boys who have been forced into these circumstances. And Sahib-e-Alam, like other boys, they go through this pile of garbage. They're looking through it. What do they find? They find a 2-rupee note, they find a coin, they find a pair of shoes which do not match, which have holes in them, which they want to wear. Here, it is the difference of the youngsters and the elders towards garbage. And here for them, garbage is their livelihood. Garbage is full of wonders. Garbage is full of surprises. And when you think about it, yes, how can we compare this to gold? Right? But this is because for these youngsters, for these boys who are confined to this life, for them it is full of wonder, it is full of surprises, it is their livelihood. The elders, because they don't have anything else to do, it's their only means of livelihood. They go through the garbage and whatever they're able to find, they sell it and they're able to, earn some money. Secondly, what do they have? They have ration cards. The government over there has issued them ration cards, and on the basis of that, they are able to get free grains, cereals, and they are able to keep their stomach full. So here, like they say, we don't worry about not having an identity, whether we are there, known as a citizen or a person belonging to this country. As long as we have food in our stomach, we are satisfied being rag pickers. pickers. They have confined themselves to there, or they have, got used to or accepted the circumstances in which they are. There are young boys around them and they walk around barefoot the whole day going through the garbage. And when the narrator asks them, like one of them says that my mother did not give them down to me. She did not pick them up from the shelf and she did not give me those pair of shoes. And these are all lies. Why? Because these young boys, they cannot afford to buy a pair of shoes. And even if she notices that one of the boys is there wearing a pair of mismatched shoes, right? She notices that yes, Sahib, they're standing outside the club looking at the young boys playing tennis. And it could be that, yes, so he's wearing his mismatched shoes and one of the shoes has a hole in it and it is discarded by these rich young boys. Simple things that we take for granted have been denied to them. It's beyond their reach. They cannot hope to bring about a change in their circumstances. So what is it here? In this instance, like the narrator, she gives the example of Udupi, right? An instance that she remembers, it happened many, many years ago. She talks about the temple priest. And yes, the temple over there was taken care of by this priest. And his son used to pray every day to the temple goddess that give me a pair of shoes. And he says, when you give me a pair of shoes, don't take them away from me. After many, many years, when the narrator, she goes once again to that place, she notices that the temple is not in a very, good condition. It's not properly taken care of. What are the things that she notices in the courtyard? She notices the plastic chairs. She notices the folding bed. She sees a young boy wearing a uniform, taking off his bag, and he is wearing a pair of shoes. So his father had prayed to the goddess for a pair of shoes and he's got them and he does not want to take them off, right? So considering traditions and customs and things that have happened in our society and how that we are so confined by tradition that it is very difficult to break out of them. It is so difficult to change these things. And so the narrator is very surprised that people who have the opportunity, right, who have the means, they can break traditions. The priest there sending his child to school and not knowing what profession his child is going to pursue, making sure that he has a pair of shoes, right? And of course, all these elements of change which we can see in the courtyard, we see the plastic chairs, we see the folding bed, we see the boy in the uniform. All these things have changed. But for the rag pickers, for the people confined in poverty, it is very difficult for them to change their circumstances. And here, one way we describe our situation, it is our tradition. But in reality, what is it? If you are confined to a poor situation, you are confined to circumstances which are beyond your control, you cannot come out of that poverty, then it is very, very difficult for you to change your situation, to change your circumstances. Unless and until you have a lot of courage, you have the daring to break all the shackles which are there, which the society binds you with. And here, Sahib-e-Alam, he has made a little change, right? Now, as a young boy, when he went with the other boys through this mound of garbage, they would carry this plastic bag on their shoulder. So whatever they would find, they would pick it up and they would put it in that, right? Now, after a long time, once again, the narrator meets Sahib-e-Alam. She's following maybe the careers, the lives of these young boys and wondering that how are they going to change the situation? Are they going to do anything to bring about a change in the situation? Or like the elders, are they going to accept their circumstances? What does she note? She notices that Sahib is now working at a tea stall, right? He's carrying this canister, a container, right? And he is walking there towards the tea stall. And what does he tell about his circumstances now? He says that now I work at a tea stall. What are the advantages of working at a tea stall? He gets money, he gets needs. But do you think Sahib is happy in the situation? What is the big change now that has happened in his circumstances? Yes, he has a meal, he has security, he has a job. Doesn't have to worry now, he doesn't have to scrounge the garbage and wondering what is he going to find today, right? Is it going to be enough for him to, fill his stomach? But now there are certain things that have changed. What is it that has changed about Sahib? What do you think has the biggest change? Earlier, Sahib had freedom. Yes. Now, what has happened to his freedom? What has happened to his freedom, Bhavneet, Tushar, Yashika? What has happened? He's lost his freedom. Now he is not his own master. So definitely circumstances has changed. They have changed. But along with it, what has he sacrificed? He has sacrificed his freedom, right? So he is no longer his own master. Who's there controlling him? The tea store owner, right? Earlier he used to go with all the boys and they would go through the garbage, and when they felt like they would come back home. But now he has to work there. Now he does not carry the plastic bag, but he has a steel canister which he carries, right? So the situation has changed, yes, but what happened to the childhood of this young boy? Earlier, the childhood was there spent scrounging the garbage. Now, the remaining part of it would be they're working for someone at a tea stall, right? Now, coming to the second part of this chapter, the second part deals more with tradition. That how we are forced to believe that because we are born in a certain family, because we are born in a certain caste, we cannot come out of it, right? That because we have been doing those things for generations together, we cannot think about changing. Here we are talking about Firozabad. Firozabad is a city that is famous for glass bangles and other glass products also. Here, what does the narrator see? That everywhere there is the beauty of the bangle. There's color everywhere. You see the bangles on the push carts, you see them in the homes, you see everywhere these beautiful bangles, colorful bangles, which are made and which are sold and which are sent to various parts of the country. We see the beautiful bangles, and how they are an important part of our life, especially Indian women. They are very auspicious. They're very, no occasion is complete, without the girls, the women wearing bangles. So it is how important it is in their lives, in the celebrations, and yes, so all the things that they represent. Here we're discussing the life of one young boy, that is Mukesh. Mukesh belongs to the family of bangle makers, and his father, grandfather before him, they have also worked in the bangle making industry. So almost 3 generations here we are aware of. But what about the circumstances? What about their lives? Have they changed it? Have they been able to bring a change in it? Have they prospered because of that? No, they have not. And here, what does the writer tell us? Tells us about the lives or the circumstances, the kind of conditions the people work in the bangle making industry. They are there confined to these small cells, and there they spend, of course, blowing the glass into shape under high temperature conditions, and without any safety equipment, without any medical insurance. Forget about life insurance, forget about job security. No, nothing at all. So right, for endless hours they're working without any hope of a change in their life. Dreams unfulfilled. And yes, so when we talk about Mukesh and his brother, his father, he does say that, see, I've been able to build a house for them. And when we look at that house, is it a proper house? No. The doors are wobbly, one side is incomplete, there's a thatched roof in the corner, and he's very happy. At least he has been able to do what others were not. He has made a home for his sons. And he did try his work. He started off as a tailor. He was not able to do well. Then again, he went into the glass bangle factory, right? So he has not been able to bring about a change. The elders also there, they complain कि एक वक्त हमने पेट भर खाना नहीं खाया. That is what the old lady says. And why are they stuck over here in this situation then? If it has not been able to bring about a change in their lives, if they've not been able to earn money, if they have not been able to, like lead a good life, then why are they stuck over there? There are two things which do not allow them to come out. One is the caste in which they are born in. They're born in the caste of bangle makers. Yes. And what is the other thing that does not allow them to come out? Yes. Someone tell me. What is it? Yes, Bhavneet, Mayank, what is it? The second, it is the web outside them, that is of the businessmen, the bureaucrats, the money lenders, the policemen, all of them, making them stay in that situation, right? So why is it so? And what about it? The narrator asks, why don't you form a cooperative? Where's the leader? Why doesn't anybody stand up and talk about these situations? Because generations of working under such circumstances, it seems they have lost their ability to think. They have lost that courage to stand up and raise their voice against the circumstances. And they are afraid that if they do try to raise their voice, what is going to happen? They're going to be sent to jail. And yes, here it is that poverty, like the father, they're coming into the bangle making industry. He does not have enough money to even take care of his family. What does he do? He borrows from the money lender. He has to return the money of the money lender. And that is why he keeps on working under these circumstances. And this situation, it continues from one generation to the next. Why is Mukesh different from all these people? Why is Mukesh different? Yes. What is there about Mukesh? What is there about Mukesh that is so different? He dreams to become a motor mechanic. Does not know how to drive a car, but he says, I will learn. And he's ready to walk to the garage and learn to become a motor mechanic. And he thinks that he will be able to change his situation. He'll be able to change the circumstances of his family, right? The narrator is happy to see that spark. At least someone has dared to dream, and dare to dream among people who have lost their ability to dream, who cannot come out of this web of poverty that society has made for them. And yes, so she does ask him, she says that the garage is not nearby. How are you going to learn? He says, I'm ready to walk. Then she asks him another question, that have you ever dreamt of flying a plane? He says, no. Or rather, he does not give any answer. And right now, he is not embarrassed that he's never thought about it, because in his city where he belongs to, he has seen cars roaming around on the street. He has not seen many airplanes flying. Because he's not seen them, maybe that is why he's not dared to dream that far. But yes, what is this positive sign about it? That Mukesh has dared to dream. He wants to change his circumstances. And whether he does or not, let's hope for the better, and let's hope that he is able to come out of those circumstances, to come out of the situation that he is, and is able to take care of his family and himself in a better way, so that he's not there in the web of the people who keep them confined under such dangerous situations, right? So we also read about here that the circumstances or the situation or the conditions in which these people work. So here it is, nobody wants to raise a voice. They lose their eyesight before they are adults. They work under very high temperatures, right? So yes, they are there affected by these burns and the high temperature causing a lot of damage, not only to the skin, but yes, to the body also, to the posture. And they have become so used to darkness that at home also you see the children there in a row, the grandparents, everybody sitting in a row and taking those bangles and putting the glass on it and working at home only and under the light of the lamps. They are so accustomed to darkness. And the darkness is not only there, so maybe the darkness that is there surrounding them, the darkness of their lives, the darkness of their conditions, the darkness of their what the situation or the circumstances in which they are in. So lost spring here, it is about the loss of childhood. It's a loss of innocence. The time that should have been spent in learning, growing, in making beautiful memories. Where has the time been wasted? Where has the time gone? They don't even realize that when they were children and when they became adults, and that age of becoming an adult, it continues endlessly till the time they have lost their eyesight, till the time they have lost their ability to think, to dream, right? So this is basically what this chapter is about, lost spring. Yes, anyone, any questions?